Hello class, let's now quickly proceed to lesson 2 of our unit 6, guided reading and case study analysis on research monitoring and evaluation concepts. Um, if you know, part 1 was an exhaustive discussion on the research part. Sobrang importante talaga ng research class. That's why we had a very lengthy discussion on that. And so now we proceed to the monitoring and evaluation concepts. Now, it's very important to take note that the numbers, the outputs, and the data that we retrieved from our research will be used as data and numbers in our monitoring and evaluation. Because again, what does RMNE mean? It seeks to look at if there has been a change in behavior of your participants. So ang palagi niyong i-remember in MNE and in change behavior and in baseline, it's really from 0 to 1. Okay? That's the concept. From 0 to 1. From none to 1. Ayan. So, you would need your baseline data. You would need to do research so that you know that there is a change because of your intervention from none to 1. And we will look at how that looks like later. So, ayun, looking at the table, we're done with formative research. We're done with pre-testing. Now we proceed to the monitoring, part 3, step 3, and then evaluation, which is step 4. Monitoring is simply asking us as researchers, how are we doing? Saan na po tayo? To what extent are planned activities actually being realized? All right? So here in monitoring, we will look at inputs and outputs, assess reach, quality, and satisfaction, blah, blah, blah. And then for the next step, we have the evaluation of outcomes and impacts. So here, we now measure through our baseline data got from research, retrieved from research, through our baseline data retrieved from pre-testing, through the monitoring of our inputs and outputs, we will look and evaluate whether the outcomes are achieved. So, dito na po makikita yung pag-measure ng ating behavioral and social change. How did we do? What outcomes are observed? Now, I will go down here. So, this is combining monitoring and evaluation now. So, what is monitoring and evaluation? Monitoring and evaluation is the periodic oversight of the implementation of an activity, that's mostly the monitoring part, seeks to establish the extent to which input deliveries, work schedules, and other required actions and targeted outputs are proceeding according to plan. Nangyayari po ba talaga yung plan natin? So we need to monitor whether our C4D intervention is on track and is on time, no? And one of the best tools that I always personally use for monitoring the progress, and I'm sure you've heard this word before, is our Gantt chart. Okay, this is an example of a Gantt chart. Okay, sobrang example lang talaga. To here in the Gantt chart, you will see where you are in terms of organizing your event, no, or organizing your intervention. Oops, nawala. Wait lang. Okay, here. So here, tasks to the left. So, di ba, you want to monitor where you are in your C4D event, where you are in your C4D intervention. So, you want to take a look at your tasks here sa pinaka-left side, the person responsible for that task, the status of that task. So, pwede po ninyong mapili kung completed na yan, kung not started. It will have a different color. See, in progress, it will also have a different color. Delayed, it will have a red color. Para po, ma-monitor ninyo kung saan na kayo in terms of your project or your C4D intervention. And of course, here we have the months of the expanse of your C4D intervention. May, June, July, August. And then that is divided into week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And then you color the block whether finalization of project brief is in week 1. How long ba yung finalization of the project brief? Is it 2 weeks? And then, for example, here you see the writing of actual modules. A person responsible for is Ayej. the status is currently delayed. That's supposed to happen for week 2 July until week 2 of August. So example lang po ito. This is not the work plan that we are using right now. We have a new calendar and schedule because of COVID. But this is just an example so that you can see and you can monitor really what it looks like, the entire project. So you can monitor whether na-achieve pa ang work plan, na-achieve pa ang inyong input deliveries and work schedules based on this Gantt chart. Again, this is a Gantt chart, Ganttchart. So this is a Gantt chart. So that's your monitoring part. Now, your evaluation part. So this evaluation part is a process which attempts to determine systematically and objectively as possible the relevance, effectiveness, efficiency, and impact of your interventions in the light of specified objectives. So you will see here that there are different management tools and organization processes to evaluate something. Now, remember this case study. Okay, remember this case study. Now hold it in your mind. Hold it for a while because we will get back to that and we will talk about that in a while. But I would just like to show you just a quick result of one of the events that IEDGE had organized. Okay, so here we organized Usapang Kalikasan. Usapang Kalikasan was basically a workshop. And we wanted to see if there was a change of knowledge, attitudes, and practices in the workshop because of our interventions. Okay? So we did a pre-testing. Here, you can see the pre-testing. We did the pre-testing of our participants in the workshop. So again, if you look at this here, we were covering for this, no? We were covering the pre-testing part to see if there is a difference. Okay, if pre-test, post-test, if we do the intervention, na-improve ba yung knowledge, na-improve ba yung attitude, na develop ba yung practice. So we wanted to really see if may kwenta pa ba ang workshops na ino-organize namin sa IEDGE. So that's why we did a pre-test, and of course, shortly after our workshop, we did a post-test. So same with this kind of format. Saan ba yun? Same with this kind of format. It really looks like this, yung format namin sa workshop. We tested them on their knowledge, we tested them on their attitude, and then we tested them on their practices or skills. So CAP, K-A-P, knowledge, attitudes, practices. And so we made a pre-test and we made a post-test. And then, ito po yung naging result. Oh, look. In the knowledge part, true or false, before our workshop, there was only 49.6% knowledge. But after our workshop, there was an increase from 49.6% in the knowledge of our participants to 80.5%. So if the objective of Usapang Kalikasan, if the objective of my workshop was to increase the knowledge of our participants on issues related to environmental sustainability, then I have achieved that objective because nag-increase po from 49.6% to 80.5%. And that is the beauty of pre-tests and post-tests, mga kapatid. I mean, class. You get to really see if there is an improvement, if there is a change from before and then to after. Wait, I'm gonna check if I'm recording. Okay, I'm recording. All right. So as you can see, for example, sa first question, no? Sa first question, only 16% got it right sa pre-test. But after our workshop, a whopping 100% of the participants were able to get it right finally. Okay? Here you will see that only 29% of the participants got the last question correct. After the workshop, 100% of the participants now got it correct. Now, if we look at the attitudes here, attitudes on environmental issues. Look, So this is before the workshop. These are the numbers before the workshop. I know they don't make sense to you, but I will show you mamaya. And these are the numbers after the workshop. Now, look, a very good number here. There's a 30% increase in this attitude number 1. Let's read. Okay, what is this attitude? Okay, so before the workshop, 5.1 out of 10 only believe that, no, not 5.1 out of 10. Their level of belief or their level of agreement to this statement is 5.1. I believe rallies and movements taken to the streets help facilitate systemic change. So, before the workshop, ang agreement is only 5.1 out of 10. After the workshop, there was a 30% increase in agreement. So from 5.1 to naging 6.7. That their strong belief that rallies and movements taken to the streets help facilitate systemic change. All right? Ito pa, very big, 20%. There was a 20% change in this statement. I feel that we should hold governments and big institutions accountable for environmental destruction. Okay? Only 4.8 belief, 4.8 out of 10, not the number of people but the average belief in the participants that they need to hold governments accountable. But after the workshop, there's a 1.0 increase in that belief from 4.8 to 5.8 na nagbelieve na they should hold governments accountable. No? If you can see here, there is a baba. No, there is a reduction. So from 2.3 believed in this state, the average belief power in this statement was 2.3 out of 10. Now, it's down to 1.7. So there is a negative 0.6% reduction or 28% malaki din. What is this belief? Okay. This belief says, I do not think it is not very necessary to engage our Lumad brothers and sisters in environmental protection. So they think na it's not necessary to engage our Lumad brothers and sisters in environmental protection. Okay? So I do think it is not necessary. So hindi po importante ang mag-engage ng Lumad brothers and sisters in environmental protection. So 2.3, that's low, which means I believe, no? But after the workshop, mas bumaba pa talaga ang fact na they really believe that we need to protect our Lumad brothers and sisters. Almost zero, almost zero belief, no? So you can really see that there is a change in attitude. So because of our pre-test and post-test, we were able to prove that. Now, finally, here is on practices, no? Of course, class, you cannot just assess someone's change in practice right after the intervention, especially in behavior. It takes a long time, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months after, if they are practicing what you are currently what you taught them to practice. No, so I just singled out some practices here. So from 6.0 out of 10 average to 7.5, that's a 26.49% increase in that practice. And they said, I know how to create a youth group or organization. So 26% increase in that practice set. Okay, 22% also know how to initiate an environmental movement. There was an increase in the knowledge to initiate an environmental movement since we are limited, no, to the scope of testing these young people on how they initiate an environmental movement. We see that after the workshop, they know now. So hindi pa shown sa practice, but at least they know now how to initiate an environmental movement. Now, kanino dako sad kaayo from 6.9 belief, 6.9 in practice to 8.9 in practice. That's 28.64% increase. What is this? I know extensively about environmental issues that my city faces. So after the workshop, their knowledge is only 6.9, but then before the workshop, their knowledge is 6.9, but after the workshop, they are now at 8.9. So that's a 28% increase. So ito naman isang example, 7.4 to 8.9, 20%, I know how to brainstorm or find solutions to problems, sabi nila. So after the workshop, from 7.4 to 8.9 na yung knowledge nila on how to brainstorm on finding solutions to problems. So you can see in your evaluation, in your pre-testing and your post-testing, you evaluated that yes, in attitudes, this is the average change. In practices, this is the average change. In knowledge, in attitudes, this is the average change. In knowledge especially, this is now the average change from 49 to 80%. So depending on your objectives and your outcomes, your evaluation will tell you that your workshop was in fact effective in improving the knowledge. Now, let's go back to, wait lang, let's go back to this one. Okay, so we did this, and then we did initial research, we did a focus group discussion, and based on the results of the focus group discussion, we created our communication plan. Now it's time to create a monitoring and evaluation plan based on the communication plan objectives. Okay, so let's just focus on this for a while. So by the end of 2018, the percent of ALS learners who can articulate the role in community development increased by blank percent. So these are the different community objectives. Now, how does that look like in a monitoring and evaluation plan? Okay, it looks like this. Okay, very easy, no? See, if you look here, strategic objective number 1, by the end of 2018, the percentage of ALS learners who can articulate, this comes from this, okay? And this objective comes from this challenge. This challenge comes from, wait lang, nawala, comes from this research. And this research comes from this situational analysis. So if you look at our monitoring and evaluation plan, this one line, okay, this one big line, this one objective comes from the actual research. That started with a situational analysis and then followed by a focus group discussion, and results of the situational analysis and the results of the focus group discussion resulted to the communication plan, which created the communication objectives. So the objective that you write down in your monitoring and evaluation plan is the one coming from your communication plan. Okay? And this is the basic, super, as in this is the most basic monitoring and evaluation plan. Now, before I proceed to that, since we are now here, let's talk about the indicators, which you will see here, no? So you have the activity, and then you have then the indicators. So what are indicators? Now, a key component, class, of developing a monitoring and evaluation plan is defining the indicators that will be used to monitor and evaluate C4D initiatives. The indicators should be based on the communication objectives, which is strategic objective number 1. There are 2 types of indicators, class. There's the evaluation indicator and the process indicator. Okay, the evaluation indicator are based on the outcomes, while the monitoring or process indicators are based on the process of rolling out communication processes, activities, and materials. For example, class, ito example. For example, if a communication objective, say, is intended to change people's attitudes regarding women's empowerment, then the following would be the potential evaluation indicator and process indicator. So the evaluation indicator is the percentage of people in a particular community who view women's empowerment positively. So that's the umbrella outcome. While the process indicator is more specific, the number of people who participated in community dialogues about women's rights planned as part of the C4D intervention. If you look at this M&E plan, the evaluation indicator is this one. Okay, the percentage of ALS learners who can articulate their role will be increased by blank percent. And the process indicator is this one, the small measurable stuff. Okay? Now, if you look at this is your framework, right? You've created a goal for your campaign, you've created an objective, you've created SMART objectives as you learned, and then you created activities that will hit that objective. And I will show samples later on. But if you look at this, simply the objectives that and outcomes that you wrote here are your evaluation indicators, while the activities are the monitoring or the process indicators. Now, if you look here, these are the process indicators that will lead to achieving your evaluation indicator. So, ito na yung pinaka basic and technical. Okay? So, this means the number of followers of your Facebook page. Okay? The number of shared live posts. The number of ALS learners who participated in the development of lyrics. Kasi ang activity mo is to produce a Sugpat theme song. The number of ALS learners who participated in the theme song production. The number of events. The number of radio stations which air the songs. Okay, wrong spelling. So your indicators, your process indicators, very literal, okay, connected to your activity. Then, right after indicator is your baseline. Your baseline is, of course, 0. So you start with 0 according to your baseline research, okay? So since this is a new phase, since this is a new activity, new Facebook, your baseline is 0. Because again, M&E plan will tell you from none to 1. Okay? That's the keyword, from none to 1. That is your baseline, and then you have your target. Okay, how many radio stations do you want to hit? 3. How many events do you want to organize? 5. How many learners do you want to participate in? 10. Okay, so baseline to target. Because after your C4D intervention, we will go back to your objectives and your activities and your indicator. Whether from 0, naging 35 ba yung target. Okay, this is the number game. Okay, this will tell us if you have these are indicators to see if you have achieved your objective based on the number of people joining, the number of events organized, the number of radio stations participating. So that's your target. Okay, data collection is basically how you're going to show or prove. This is your means of verification. How are you going to show that 35 is really 35 from 0? So of course, since it's Facebook, it's FB metrics. Number of ALS learners, it would be monitoring report or attendance. So data collection sources, so attendance sheets, evaluation reports, pre- and post-test questionnaire. Ito yung pinakita ko sa inyo. Okay, this is the data collection part. Okay, frequency. How frequently do you collect data to show where you are in terms of your target? Okay, so here's monthly. Itong final evaluation is like just right after the event or just right after the activity. No, here we have conduct a 5-day Sugpat camp. So frequency at the start and at the end of the camp. So that's your pre and post test. Okay, so and then your partner institutions or organizational partners. These are people who you are working with, so that you know where to get these kinds of data, okay, or how to develop them. Okay, so this is your basic monitoring and evaluation plan that includes the activities that will hit your objective, the indicators that will show you what are the process indicators and the evaluation indicators that show that you are achieving your activities needed to be done. Okay, you have a baseline, you have a target. How do you get these numbers? How frequently do you get these numbers? So that's your basic monitoring and evaluation plan. Okay, why do we need an M&E plan? So we know that there is a change, so that we know that there is an improvement. All right. So I'm gonna show you another example that we did And maybe briefly just share about objectives and outcomes. You may not know the difference. You may have a hard time acknowledging the difference between outcomes, outputs, activities, and your M&E methodology. Now, this is an example of our actual log frame. This is not a complete log frame. I'll show you a log frame on the next on the last example. But this is an actual simple log frame. A log frame is a logical framework where it will help you as well in your monitoring and evaluation. Okay, so we are creating a project with the Earth Journalism Network, and we have set a goal. Okay, our goal was simply to, okay, so if you look at this, our goal was simply to increase the conversation on environmental sustainability in the newspapers. So what do we do to achieve that goal? There are three outcomes that need to happen, or here, there are three objectives that need to be achieved. Okay, so the first outcome is increased quantity and quality of trained young environmental journalists. Number two, increased publication of environmental stories. And number three, formation of environmental journalists champion and networks. So those are our three objectives: to increase the quantity and quality of young environmental journalists. Number two, to increase the publication of environmental stories. And number three, to form a youth journalism network. So those are our outcomes. What are our indicators or outputs to see that we have achieved the outcome? Again, this is a number game, okay? What are the indicators? So this is output or indicators. What are the process indicators, no? First is we have produced a module that focuses on environmental journalism, and we have successfully graduated 60 campers. So if you can see, sa indicator and output, sobrang specific na 60 yung completers to show that there is really an increased quantity of journalists. So from 0 environmental journalists to 60 environmental journalists will tell us that we have achieved this outcome. Okay, so increased publication, our output is 7 in-depth stories and 15 stories, blah, 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 no? Our formation of environmental journalists, unsa among indicator, ana? Signed MOUs, the creation of a YEDGE chapter with set of officers, okay? So what are the activities that need to be organized to make sure that this indicator is shown? To make sure that there are 60 successful completers. Of course, the actual training and workshop and the media tour. Okay, what are the activities to make sure that there are 15 stories? Okay, senior journalist 3-month mentoring. Okay, immersion with indigenous people's community. Okay, what are the activities to make sure that we have this output, the creation of IH chapter or the signed MOUs? Well, activities can be partnership meetings, usapang kalikasan session, election of officers, strategic planning sessions. Okay. And then here goes your M&E methodology, okay, or monitoring and evaluation. What will prove that your activities and indicators and outcomes all are monitored and are evaluated to improve or to make sure that your goal is being achieved? So kanio, for example, comparative analysis on baseline data and post-evaluation survey from participant pre-test and post-test assessment. Project evaluation report, which includes attendance sheet. No? So these are all different methods and tools of monitoring and evaluation. So news coverage analysis, desk review, key informant interviews or focus group discussion, membership records, copies of MOUs, narrative report documentation. These are just some examples of the methodology and the tools that will help you in monitoring and evaluating your project. Okay? So now, lastly, no, I will just show you a very, a more professional talaga M&E results matrix, no? Monitoring and evaluation. So again, same pa rin, oh. This is the outcome. It's really the same, no? Same with this kind of monitoring and evaluation plan. You have the outcome, You have indicators that support the outcome, meaning number of national laws amended. Okay, what is your baseline? Okay, so here it's not 0. Okay, you have a baseline. You have a Family and Children's Act already. But what's your target? Okay, Family and Children's Act plus domestic legislation with 8 major changes. Okay, so that's your target. So if you can see, policy level ni ilang gina-try og change. Means of verification. Okay, this is, for example, this is your M&E methodology. These are tools to see, to verify, no? So Government Gazette, and then your risks and assumptions. So Kani will not cover about this. This is very technical na. And then again, our role of partner and implementing agencies. So here, partners and institutional partners. So it's very much the same. So this is an actual $100,000 budgeted M&E project. So see, it follows this type of format. Goal is above. Outcome number 1 is here. Your outputs are here below. See, output, output. Your indicators, and your baseline, and your targets. Your means of verification, and then your partners. That's it. You would have then completed your monitoring and evaluations. So that's it for this lesson. Thank you.